welcome to Origination Overload. Today we're going to take a closer look at how I made this sound from my producer's flip. Let's look at the three layers. We've got this one. That's what it looks like. This is the next sound. Notice how the octave is different. And the final one. So see, the one is going over 2 octaves, the one arp is going over 3 octaves, and the other arp is just plain straight. And sometimes what I'm doing is I'm adding the pattern and then just removing a couple of notes here and there to give it a groove. So what it is, it's a granular synth and it's duplicated 3 times, and each one is a little bit different. They all got arps on them and the arps rate is being modulated. So how I went about making this was I created a Grain Sample Manipulator synth, and then if you go under factory sounds, grain patches, bass, this first one, bass ride, drag and drop it. And then I went onto pixabay.com and I downloaded the sample called freeze tag. Underneath my downloads folder, I drag and drop the sample into the granular synth. Using these red markers, we can go through the sample and find a section of the sample we want to use. We can also hear it here. Let's draw some bass notes. So what I've got here is got a note, it's on a C, it's half a bar long, and I've got 4 of them next to each other. And let's listen to what this sounds like. Okay, so there's a couple of things we want to do here. First, we want to play with this green arrow and move it around until we find a nice kind of bassy sound. So let's do that. Okay, that's not too bad. And now let's also just move the ending up a bit. Okay, that's a nice sound. So what we're going to do with this granular synth is right click on it, go to effects, we're going to add some distortion. And again, we're going to right click on that, go to utilities and add an arp. So go to our pattern and we're going to drop it onto the arp. It sounds like this. Okay, let's change it to 2 octaves. And we're going to drop the rate down to 1/8. Okay, we're going to remove the reverb, remove the chorus, and we're going to slowly bring down the decay, the sustain, and the gate length of the arp until we find something which sounds a lot tighter. Okay. You can also play with this oscillator, maybe switch it off, listen to what it sounds like, but also play with the octaves of it to find a nice bass sound. As well as the samples octave. Okay. It's got a lot of high frequencies in the sound, so over here, click this down arrow, sample to filter, and we're going to slowly bring this frequency down until we get a nice bass sound. Okay, so let's duplicate this sound. We're going to bring the frequency all the way up. We're going to add the chorus back. We're going to add the reverb back. We're going to remove some of the low frequencies. This will be the high frequencies of the sound. So let's go back to our bass sound, which is this one. Go to the mix and make sure we bring the width all the way down so it's mono. Okay, now let's layer it with this other sound we just duplicated. Maybe you want to add some shuffle to it and bring the gate length down a bit. And what we can do is also just change the beginning part of the sample just to taste, to find something. Okay, so let's solo this bass sound and let's get to the modulation part of it. So what's given it a nice groove is if you right click on the rate and you say edit automation, you'll see underneath the ARP it's created the sync rate. So what you can do is you can draw in something with your pencil and then double click on it. And this white line over here is where the rate is currently, which is on 1/8. And what we can do is take the pencil, draw one underneath it. And as you'll see, when it plays it, it's going to drop this. So now it's on 1/4 triplets. So let's get out of here, go to edit mode again. And what I'm going to do is duplicate this to every second note. So it sounds like this. Okay. And let's go to the layered high part and as well go to the rate on the ARP, say edit automation. I'm just gonna select it, hold down control and drag it. And this is what it sounds like together. And yeah, so I'd recommend just playing with the octaves, playing with the decay, the sustain, and as well as the gate length to get something nice and tight, as well as your frequency. Grain length as well. And yeah, that gives you a basic idea of how we're making that sound. So yeah, I hope that gave you an idea on how to create a nice wobble synth. Boop. Have fun. Hey, welcome to Origination Overload. Today we're going to take a closer look at the bass line I made for my producer's sample flip. So I found a sample on pixabay.com. It's called Freeze Tag and I downloaded it. So in Reason, let's right click, create an instrument, a Grain Sample Manipulator. I'm going to go to my downloads folder and I'm going to drag and drop the sample into the program. Okay, so let's right click on the granular synth and reset it. I'm going to go to my downloads folder and drag and drop the sample onto the program. To get this going, let's just draw in a couple of notes and let's loop it. Here's my loop on, it's between left and right. Tempo is 130. Let's double click on it. Let's draw a couple of notes over a few different octaves. These are long notes, so we can hear what the synth is going to do, and we're going to put them on some different octaves. Okay, so they're all on C notes over 4 different octaves. Okay, so what we can do is we can change these left and right red markers to choose a different part of the sample that we want to work with. So let's move this about and let's play it. Move the green arrow about. That's got a nice kind of bass sound to it over here. To get this going, so what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the synth, utilities, add an arpeggiator. And then we need to make sure that we take our pattern and we put it on the ARP. Let's play that. Okay, let's put on 3 octaves. And let's drop the octave a couple of times. Okay, to hear this a bit better, let's right click on its effects, add a scream. Okay. So now let's drop the octave. Let's change the grain length. That's nice. And let's change this to envelope, and then let's change our envelope to something that looks like this. Okay, we can also change the beat sync of this to 2 bars. Let's drop our sustain, drop a decay a bit. Let's put this on 2 octaves. We can also add this oscillator here, drop the octave. It's got a bit of a click on it, so let's put the attack up a bit. Okay, put it back on 3 octaves. Now let's just change the beginning part of the sample and find something that works. Okay, so now I'm going to filter this out a bit to keep just the bass frequencies. So click on this down arrow so it's sample to filter. And slowly I'm going to drop this frequency. Okay, let's also change the distortion type. And we're going to go to the mix and we're going to change the width all the way to mono. Okay, now let's duplicate this, and then the next one will have 100% width. We're going to go to the EQ section and we're going to EQ out everything from about 300 Hertz down. Okay, so this, now we go back to this duplicated granular synth, and what we're going to do is we're going to open up the, we're going to go up an octave. Open up the decay, the sustain, and the release a little bit, as well as changing the distortion type. And maybe adding some shuffle to it. Yeah, that's quite nice, and let's remove some low frequencies. Just change type. And we're going to slowly drop the gate length. As well as playing with the octave and the grain length. Okay, but let's say we want to make this wobble a bit more. What we can do is, under LFO1, we can put the amount to 100, and the destination will be the filter freak. Should be this. Let's just solo the sound. So currently this is the LFO1 over here. Put on beat sync. And now it's on 3/8. Let's open up the sound a bit. To give it some movement, let's add a phaser. And a little bit of reverb. Let's open up this freak. Let's change the distortion type. You can also change our envelope. And let's move this around and find something different. change our ending. Okay, it's got a lot of hissy high frequencies, so let's do a high pass filter on it. So let's do a low pass filter on it. Just to keep those nice gritty mids. Let's drop the octave. Let's open up the gate. Let's layer it with the bass.